fourth attempt, our road patrol and canine units were able to surround him. They gave him commands. He did not comply. He took off running down Ocean Boulevard there, ran a short distance before he realized that it was actually a canine handler giving him commands, and he complied. He gave up, was taken into custody. I'm going to tell you what we know about him. They did interview him. He said that he was transient, that he had been in Florida, had come from the state of Alabama, had been in Florida for 3 days, and was just moving through the area. So he didn't give us an address of where he was staying locally. We didn't find a car. But we do know that he's a felon. He's actually a sex offender from the state of Alabama, who did not register in the state of Florida when he came into our state. So he's been charged with that, and he's also been charged at this point with 1 attempted burglary. And then right now, our detectives are out at that apartment complex location trying to get more video, trying to identify more victims, and trying to find the backpacks that were in the photo. I think we provided a photo. There's some large backpacks that he was carrying when he did several of these burglaries, or attempted to do some of them, but when he was arrested, they were not able to find those packs. One interesting thing, as they were reviewing some of the surveillance photos from the residents there, those packs seemed to grow larger as he moved from one apartment to another apartment. So the inference there is that he could potentially have been getting items from these apartments. We have not found those bags, so we are out there asking residents in the area if they find any suspicious bags or large, kind of like camping backpack looking items, to call us so we can recover them, sort through the items that are in them, and try to locate more victims. And then, of course, if there's any surveillance videos or there's any other victims that we're not aware of, we want them to call us so we can piece together all the different victims or would-be victims in that development, or even in any of the area along that Ocean Boulevard area up there. So with that, let me kick it over to you. You can ask me questions if I didn't cover it.
You say he's a sex offender from the state of Alabama. Do we know what the details of that case are?
No, so they've reached out to Alabama and they're trying to pull that report from them. He has again been charged with not registering. There's really strict laws of what he has to do, and he did not comply with that. So we don't know what that case was. We know he's a felon. We know he's been arrested numerous times. I don't know how many, and I don't know all the states he's been arrested in. That's another thing our detectives are trying to sort through right now.
How long do you think he was in the apartment complex, and how many apartments do you think he actually broke into?
We don't know. We know he tried 4 of them. He was the ones that we saw, and then the victims that the 2 that I mentioned, those were they were unlocked doors. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that a different way. He was trying to get in apartments with unlocked doors. The one that he actually walked into was unlocked. He got in, he just opened the door and walked in. The ones that our aviation watched him try to get into were locked, so he did not get into those.
Did he have a weapon?
He did not, no.
Would he be charged with a home invasion burglary?
If he had a weapon, yes. Again, we're trying to sort through exactly what we have. He was charged with attempted occupied burglary of a dwelling. So that's a serious charge here in the state of Florida. And again, there's more victims out there. We know there's more victims based on what we saw last night and based on some of the surveillance footage that we recovered. We know there's more. We're reaching out to as many as we can round up ourselves, and then if someone watches this and we're a victim anywhere along that Ocean Boulevard, and that goes from Sailfish Point all the way up into Fort Pierce. We don't know how he got there. Our assumption is that he walked into the area, but we're trying to confirm all that.
And how do you feel about the fact that you caught him?
We're thankful that we caught him. Clearly, he is not afraid. He was confronted by a man with a shotgun in one of the apartments, and instead of running away like you would expect most criminals to do and leaving the area, he simply transitioned and went to another location within the same community and continued to try to do burglaries. So he was not really afraid of confrontation. He was not afraid of our law enforcement. The canine is what put him in check. So he's a bad guy. He's a bad dude, and I'm glad we were able to take him into custody. And he's lucky he was taken into custody. He almost got shot by a homeowner who, had he shot him, we would be standing here and I'd be telling you he did a good job and did what a homeowner should do: stand your ground and protect your life and your property.
How long was it that how long after he had gotten into the one apartment where the guy had the shot shotgun. How long after that was it when he was caught by the canine?
So that was the first 911 call, and I don't know the exact time frame, but it would have been within 10 or 15 minutes. Aviation was up immediately and had eyes on him, and then it just took a while for our units to position themselves around him and then take him into custody. So it was a rapid set of events. But again, he's still trying to do burglaries during that 10 or 15 minute time period.
What's your reaction to the horn tattoos on his head?
I just try to imagine what the victim saw as they're in their apartment at midnight, either sleeping or watching TV or whatever doing. What a frightening experience to have a guy that looks like the devil trying to come in your front door and victimize you, however that looks. I just mentioned he's a sex offender. I don't know what his motive was, but it would be alarming as a victim, and then as a suspect, that's not the brightest move to have such a distinctive tattoo. I mean, that was the call. We got a guy with devil horns trying to break in our house. He was not the hardest guy, or wouldn't have been the hardest guy for us to track back and find.
Do you guys know, and I apologize, Sheriff, if you
You're fine.
said this already, but do you know, was he a permanent resident here in Florida? Did he have a home? Was he homeless?
What I know is what he told us. He said that he came from the state of Alabama 3 days ago and was transient. So we don't know of any local address. We don't know how he got there. We've not located a car. Our assumption is that he was walking or doing ride shares, but we're not sure of that. We're trying to track that back as best we can.
The first 911 call came from a home where he was already, it came from an apartment where he was already inside.
Yes.
Was it the man or the wife who called on that one?
It was my understanding that the wife's the one that called and the husband retrieved the shotgun and ran him out of the apartment.
So he left that apartment before he could be shot?
He did.
Was there a verbal exchange between
There
the
was.
two of them?
Yeah, there was. I don't know the exact verbiage, but there was a verbal exchange, and he left that apartment, and then he just transitioned into going to another spot within the same complex and continuing trying to do burglaries.
So when the second call came in, that was from somebody whose apartment he did not go into?
Correct. He tried to get in there. They saw him, and here, let me give you a better photo if you can see that. That's a photo of his devil tattoo with a spider on there. Pretty distinct, and calls into question his thought process.
You were telling me about the second 911 call. Can you?
Yeah, so the second 911 call was an apartment that he tried to get into, and that was immediately after the first one. So, again, he didn't do what normal criminals do. Not that there is a normal criminal, but he didn't just leave the area upon confrontation. He stayed there and was not afraid of confrontation, which is a scary thing when you're dealing with bad guys that they're not afraid of the victims, they're not afraid of the cops when they show up. Again, he wasn't compliant with our deputies. The only thing that brought him around was that dog that was there that gave him a moment of pause.
Sorry, was he, you mentioned that he went to another apartment, but you guys don't know his motive in this. So at this point you said that you guys don't know what that sex offense was in Alabama?
Correct.
Okay, but no other priors of breaking in, entering, or anything?
No, you missed that part. So he's a sex offender from Alabama. We're reaching out to get that report and see what that entails. We know he has a criminal history. We're just trying to piece it together and determine exactly what those crimes are. So he's a bad guy. He didn't just, he's been around the block before. And again, he's not afraid of interactions. This is not a kid pulling on door handles. This is a bad guy that we would not want in our community to start with.
And most are familiar, but when it comes to stand your ground here in Florida, can you just explain that a little bit more?
If you're in the state of Florida and somebody comes into your house, which is your castle, the castle doctrine, you can stand your ground. You can protect yourself, you can protect your property, you can make sure that you're not a victim. And in this scenario, the victim did exactly the right thing, did exactly what I would encourage him to do. He went and got his shotgun, which he's legally allowed to own, and he brought it out there, and I'm sure he would have engaged. However, the suspect turned around and ran off. But had the suspect come after him or come at him any more than he did, and our victim shot him, I would be standing here telling you that he did do the right thing.
Out of curiosity, if, for example, that victim had a weapon that was not, they weren't legally possessing that weapon, if it was an illegal possession, and they had shot the suspect and killed the suspect in this, would they still be protected under stand your ground? Or
You're talking about like a convicted felon having a
Yeah,
firearm? I
yeah.
don't know the answer to that. It would
Okay.
be, we would have any scene like that, you would have the state attorney on board, and we would investigate that and figure out the nuances of the law.
Got it. I was just
So,
curious.
yeah.
How many apartment doors did you say were unlocked?
Only the one that we know that he got in. Again, so he did the one that he actually physically went inside. Then the second one was not unlocked. They called 911, and then our aviation unit saw him pull on 2 more that were not unlocked. But again, the bags that are portrayed, I think we gave you the photo. The bags that are portrayed in that photo got larger as the residents provided us footage of the area. So the assumption is that he was getting goods somewhere in that apartment complex.
What kind of a guy goes around to an apartment complex just having arrived in the state and looks for places he can break into? How would you describe someone like that?
A hardcore, desperate criminal. Again, I didn't get any indication of narcotics use or anything like that. Generally, that is something that would play into this. Somebody that doesn't care anymore, that's gotten to that level. They don't mind getting arrested. They just want to get the next high or do what it takes to survive. So it's frightening to have a hardcore guy like that in our neighborhood, especially that neighborhood. That's a really kind of a quiet area. We don't get a lot of crime there. It's on the beach. It's a beautiful area, higher end. And to have a guy in that spot, how he got there, again, we don't know, but to have a guy there and nonchalantly trying to do burglaries is frightening for us.
Is that a gated neighborhood?
It has a little guard gate in the front, but it's porous. You can walk right in. So it's not gated like you would in some of these tighter communities.
What's the name of the canine that caught him?
It's Wes McNeil's dog, and I'm not sure. I think it's Grohl, but I'll double check that.
Think we can get a photo of the dog?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Did he say anything after you caught him? Did he say what he was up to or why he was in Florida? Or?
No, he did answer those initial questions about, who are you, where'd you come from, but he's sitting in our jail with no bond while we try to piece this together and work with Alabama to figure out what his sex offense entails. They're going to do some re-interviewing again as they locate more victims and try to find those bags. So there'll be a lot of follow-up information if you're interested to come.
Okay. And at this point, I guess just to wrap up here, you don't know how many apartments he went into and actually removed items.
Correct, we don't know. We're trying to track that down today. And again, if there's any victims, not just in the Dunes area, but anywhere along that corridor that notices something that's off, please reach out to us and we'll try to piece together what took place.
And those bags are still missing?
Yes.
Just ditched them, you think?
Yes, but we don't know where, and that was pretty quick from the time the 911 call came in to the time our deputies got there. There's not a lot of places to ditch it there, so they searched pretty good last night. Again, they're back out there today looking. If a homeowner thought maybe it's just somebody left their bags and placed them in a garage or something, we would like to know that and recover them and see what's in them to see which apartments he may or may not have been in and what he could have taken.
Maybe they're in a dumpster.
Maybe.
Can you just really quickly, Sheriff, speak to the impact home invasions have on a victim? I mean, it's just so, you hear these stories of people that just don't feel safe in their homes after that anymore. It can be really violating.
You brought up a good point. No matter what security methods or measures some of these victims put in place, they still can't get over the emotional trauma. It's really PTSD in a sense of somebody coming into their space. This guy, devil horns, coming into their space in the middle of the night, and we don't know what he was going to do, but I'm sure it runs through their mind, was he there for, you can list all the infractions that he could potentially do. But no matter what they put in place after the fact, you find that a lot of these victims never have that peace of mind that they deserve in their own house.
Did you say he has a lengthy record?
Yes.
Do you know what some of the prior arrests were for?
Just a sex offense, but again, we're piecing it together for you. Anything else? Good.
Thank you,
Thank
Sheriff.
you. Yes.
So here's what I've requested for all of you. I've requested 911.